What's up, Young Kings? Razanon here, back with part 3 of 3 in my Black Ops 4 review series. This is going to be entitled The Ugly, the things that were just complete shit about this game. This is probably going to be a long one, so grab some snacks, some tea, some coffee, some popcorn, a Snickers bar, I don't give a fuck. But get comfortable. Get your Afghan, get your comforters, get your hot cocoa, throw some little tiny marshmallows in it, strap in, young lads, because we're about to go deep. So as I've said in the previous videos in this series, this is going to be focused on the things that were very, very bad for the game. So it's distinct from the bad video, which is going to be part 2, in that these things are almost game-breakingly bad. They're disgusting, terrible, shit, baffling decisions that were made on the parts of Treyarch and Activision. Part 1 of this review is the good, which you can find linked in the description, as well as part 2, which is the bad, which are, like this video, things that were bad about Black Ops 4, but weren't as bad as the things we're about to get into now. Let's dive right in. The first thing that is fucking terrible about this game is Zero's hack. Now, I don't exactly have a problem with Zero existing. I really like her EMP, especially since Torque is in the game. I think there should be a good counter to that. And I don't even mind that her ultimate is a hack that destroys enemy score streaks, because it is an ultimate, you don't have it up all the time, and depending on how good the kill streak you're trying to hack is, it takes a while to kill it. And there's the indicator above the 0. It's not as simple hacking the enemy team when they have Gunship, Thresher, Sniper's Nest, Mantis, and 3 UAVs up as it might sound. Odds are you are not finishing that hack. It's going to take a long ass time. So that's not really my problem with it. My problem is that there are a random assortment of score streaks that she doesn't just destroy when she finishes the hack on them, but she takes control of them. These are UAV, counter UAV, drone squad, and attack chopper. So with UAV and counter UAV, I think stealing them is kind of cool. And it also makes sense because UAV stands for unmanned aerial vehicle. So in theory, if someone's like a hacker, they can take control of this device because there isn't a human being commandeering those vehicles. So you hack the software, and now all of a sudden it's giving you the information that it would have otherwise been giving the enemy team. But more importantly, hacking a UAV or a counter UAV isn't as impactful as hacking a drone squad or an attack chopper. So what this is translated to for the vast majority of players is, as soon as Zero came out and we realized that certain streaks when they're hacked simply get destroyed and others get flipped, means, oh, okay, I'm never running drone squad anymore. Ever. Because if I'm on a really good streak and I call a drone squad and a Zero hacks it, well, now I'm going to get killed by my own streak that I just earned. That's fucking dumb. And the attack chopper especially is a really good kill streak that no one uses now, because there's this risk of Zero hacking it and not just destroying it, but having it just shit on your team. I've actually lost games that I would have otherwise won because a teammate of mine runs attack chopper, enemy Zero hacks it, the chopper just shits on all of us, and then we lose the game now, which is crazy. So I think Zero being able to hack score streaks is a cool idea. I just don't think she should be able to take control of those score streaks, at least in the case of lethal score streaks. Drone squad and attack helicopter. Okay, next up is PS3 exclusivity. As I understand it, Activision struck a deal with PlayStation with respect to the Call of Duty franchise, where PlayStation is going to have some kind of exclusivity related to the game. And it's not going to be like Halo, where it's exclusively available on one particular platform, but Call of Duty will be released on all the gaming platforms, except PlayStation is going to get everything, in the case of Black Ops 4, a week early for the entire life cycle of the game, or at a minimum for the first year of the game. As a content creator, this is really annoying to me, because when a new weapon is released, for example, and I want to make a YouTube video on it, the interest in videos related to the VMP, which was just launched, really spike on day 1 of its release. But when day 1 through 7 is exclusive to PlayStation users, I'm just completely out of that market for 7 days. I can't make a video reviewing a VMP because I can't use it because I'm not on PlayStation. And by the time I can make a video on it, it's been at a minimum 7 days after everyone's already been looking up YouTube videos on the VMP. And that actually really fucks with me and my growth. And I'm a small, humble fucking streamer. So it's not terribly impactful to me. But for someone like Syrian or Nate Gibson, or maybe some Xbox content creators, I don't know of any, but that's a real pain in the ass. And if this is your only way you make money or make a living, I can imagine that's incredibly frustrating. But for you guys, that doesn't so much matter to you. It's still just scummy. You just have to sit there and kind of twiddle your thumbs while you wait for all of this new content that has already been patched into your game like 2 weeks ago, by the way. It's totally ready. You could be using it, but because Activision wanted a couple extra $1 million, you will not have access to it for another week. It's one of those things where perhaps on paper will make Activision more money in the short term or in the immediate. But I think that business decisions like that in the long run engender a resentment from not only people who aren't on PlayStation, but also from a lot of people who are on PlayStation that feel that this system is completely unfair and scummy and leaves a bad taste in every consumer's mouth that I think is not only detrimental to the player base that isn't on PlayStation, but also Activision's reputation and Activision's bottom line in the long term. I think if you foster this kind of resentment from more than half of your consumer base, those people who aren't on PlayStation, it's not going to be good for your bottom line in the long run. So I think this was a stupid deal that whoever was in charge made that they may never even realize it has come to bite them in the ass, but it probably has or will. Because the damage has been done with respect to Black Ops 4. But in addition, Modern Warfare, the beta getting released sooner for the PlayStation users, the survivalist Spec Ops mode only being available to PlayStation users for an entire year, the player base is going to remember shit like that, whether they ever realize it or not. Okay, all the DLC maps is what I want to talk about next. I bought the Black Ops Pass because I'm a fucking idiot. And what we got with the Black Ops Pass in Black Ops 4 were a bunch of shit maps that were way, 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 way too big. Masquerade is a good example of a map that would have otherwise been awesome, but it's just so fucking big that it is completely unserviceable for any game type in Black Ops 4. I really like Masquerade, but the spawns are so far apart that for TDM and Kill Confirmed, the score limit is never reached. It's always the time limit, because as soon as you kill someone or you die, you spawn so far away from even mid, let alone the other spawn, that you will be running back toward action for a far greater amount of time than you'll actually be engaging in any action. So Masquerade's a really good example of, again, a map that could have been excellent that was just butchered because they made the map probably 40% too big. I mean, they could cut off 20% of spawn 1, just chop it, bring it in. And then 20% of spawn 2, chop it, bring it in. It would still be a larger than average Call of Duty map. So now let's go through all the other maps. Artifact. If Azir Cave from Modern Warfare Beta didn't exist, I would say that Artifact is the worst map of all time. Not just in a Call of Duty game, but in any first-person shooter, in any video game ever. The map is fantastically bad. Now, it's not as bad as Azir Cave because it doesn't have the visibility issue. But if you want to make a map that's as big as Artifact is, there's a way to do that where you can actually have the map still be fun and engaging. For example, Icebreaker. Icebreaker is an example of a big map done super well. There's a central building. In the case of Icebreaker, it's a partially submerged submarine or boat or something. But importantly, aside from that, the vast majority of Icebreaker has wide open areas with very long sight lines. And if you're going to have a big map, you need really long sight lines with a lot of open area. Icebreaker did that perfectly. It's a fantastic map. top 3 favorite Black Ops 4 maps. But when you go to Artifact, which is a map that is about as big as Icebreaker, there's no open area. I mean, there's the top ridge part, but you can't really shoot into the ridge from like anywhere else on the map unless you're also on the ridge because it's all obstructed. And then mid is like this weird, almost maze-like, labyrinthian, like faux pathways that you can't actually shoot into from virtually anywhere. If you're in that maze in mid, the only way you're gonna get shot is if someone jumps into the maze with you. So you have this really big map, yet you can be at mid and not be seen by anyone from a 360-degree angle around the map. So it's just like this weird kind of architecture where it's really big, but everything is so compartmentalized that there's almost no sightlines whatsoever. Casino is another map that would have been really good if it was just way fucking smaller. The spawns where you exit the casino from both sides, remove that. You should spawn inside. And then you'd have a map that is a very good size for a game like Call of Duty. And it would actually be a really fun map. I really like Casino, except it's too fucking big. Elevation is actually a pretty good map. I don't think it's too big, and I think it's designed fairly well. Lockup is another map that's way too fucking big, and you don't need to be spawning so fucking far back. Just bring it in. 40% smaller, and Lockup's a good map. Madagascar was decently done. I don't love the map, but it's actually pretty good. And this is a map that's bigger than average, but it also has a lot of long sightlines. So Madagascar was done pretty well. And that's the list. So like when we look through this suite of DLC maps, the trend is that they're just too big. They're just too big. Make them smaller. And then there are some other DLC maps, Remnant, for example, which again is just too fucking big. Der Schatten, also. That map is fucking terrible. In addition to being too big, there are a bunch of red lights randomly placed just everywhere on this fucking map. And most frustratingly, there are a bunch of red lights in that central building where most of the action happens. And the map is also dark. So what that means is you are relying on the lights that are on the character models, which I really like about Black Ops 4, to be able to see people on dark maps like Der Schatten. Here's the problem though. The lights on the character models are red. So why the fuck did you put a bunch of red lights, the same shade of red, by the way, all over this map, especially at mid? I'll run into mid and I see so many red lights. It's like I'm at fucking EDC. And then, is this red light some random bullshit light that's been put into the map? Or is this a person? Let's fucking find out. Just start spraying bullets over there. Oh, turns out it wasn't a guy. But now some other asshole knows where I am because I was just lighting up a piece of architecture and he comes around and shits on me. Terrible, terrible shit map. So when we look at the suite of DLC maps that were added to Black Ops 4, they are either trash or way too fucking big. There are effectively 2 good maps in the Black Ops Pass out of many. Elevation and Madagascar. And even Madagascar is not great, so you have like one good map, one decent map, and then a bunch of pile of dog shit maps. So if you're gonna charge a bunch of money for a Black Ops Pass, after you've gotten that consumer's full retail price for the game itself, you should at least make the maps good or decent, but not fucking trash, like the ones included in the Black Ops Pass are. I probably should have mentioned this sooner, by the way, but the way I've been rank ordering all of these videos is from least impactful to most impactful. So in video 1, the good stuff about Black Ops 4, I started with what was least good and ended the video with what was most good. For the bad, part 2, I started with what was least bad and ended with what was most bad. And for this video, I'm doing the same structure. So I had started with what was least ugly, and I'm gonna end with what is most ugly. So now we're getting into the real travesties of this game. The real shitty design choices. Which brings me to Thresher. Now, a Thresher is the best kill streak in the game. And I don't mean that as a relationship between cost to value. So it's not just that its cost to value ratio is the highest. So you get the most bang for your buck with Thresher, for sure. So you need something like 1100 points to get a Thresher. And the value you get for those 1100 points is fucking insane. So not only is it the most bang for your buck as far as all of the score streaks are concerned, but it's actually absolutely the best score streak in the game, irrespective of cost. So if I could choose to get a gunship or a Thresher for 1100 points, so they were both just as easy to earn, I would still run Thresher instead of gunship. Thresher is just better than gunship. And I think there are two reasons for that. Number one, you don't have to control it. So if you call in a gunship, you can't be banging people with the gunship and also running around and doing first-person shooter things. With a Thresher, literally all you do, you press the button, it does its thing, you can still run around and kill people. But the main problem with Thresher, there's actually three things. Another thing with Thresher is it lasts way too long for how good it is. I mean, it carpet bombs like the entire map. And even if you have Flak Jacket, it very, very often kills you. So there's no real counterplay. And it just lasts for such a long time. But by far the most broken thing about the Thresher is it's virtually impossible to shoot down. So your options to destroy it are Paladin FMJ2. And even if you do that, it's hard to shoot down. It's not fucking easy to do. I think you can shoot it with a LMG, like a Titan with FMJ2, but again, it takes a lot of bullets and it's not easy to do because it flies so high and it comes in so fast. And it does its bombing run and then it goes way out of your view off the map, far out of the range of any bullet travel, and then comes back briefly in a shootable window and then goes out of a shootable window again. And you can't shoot it with the rocket launcher. It'll let you lock on, but the rocket never hits it because again, it travels too fast and it goes way too far, so the rocket just doesn't work. So how does it make sense that the best score streak in the game, the gunship, is way more straightforward to shoot down than a streak that requires far fewer points to earn? I don't understand the design choice there. And because it lasts for so long and it's so effective at getting kills, many times the game is decided by which team calls their Thresher first. Because what happens is every good player runs Thresher, because everyone who's ever played Black Ops 4 for any amount of time recognizes how strong that score streak is. And as soon as you call it, what you're doing is you're forcing people into buildings if they're smart, which means you're no longer going to get flanked because no one can run outside to flank you or they'll die to the Thresher. The areas of the map in which they could be have now been greatly reduced. So instead of wondering where an enemy is on 100% of the map, you now only have to wonder where they are within, depending on the map, 50 to 20% of the map. And if they're not smart enough to stay within this 50 to 20% safe zone when the Thresher is up, then you just kill them because the Thresher will kill them while they're trying to flank you. And now you've stopped them from being able to earn score streaks because you are constantly killing them off of a streak, which means they have no recourse and no way to start a comeback. You call your Thresher, you force them into a small area in which you can more easily know where they are and therefore kill them, or they don't go in that area, they go outside and then your Thresher kills them and you stop them from getting streaks, all the while you are able to just farm them into getting more streaks, calling a second Thresher, and the snowball continues indefinitely until the match is over. Having one score streak literally determining the outcome of a game is completely ridiculous, especially for how cheap the Thresher is. I mean, if the Thresher cost as much as the gunship or more, maybe I would be on board. I probably wouldn't be, but maybe I would be. But the fact that it's relatively easy to earn, something that game-breaking should be very hard to get, and it's just not that hard to get. So the Thresher is just, it's too strong. It literally decides the game. And when you call in any other streak, even a gunship, I would rather have a gunship called on me than a Thresher, because even though the gunship is super good and effective, I can shoot it down relatively quickly and then get back to playing the game. I'm not just going to have to be forced to be farmed for the entire duration of the streak because I have a way to kill the gunship, and hopefully in the time that the gunship was up to me destroying it, the other team hasn't gotten another streak. And that's absolutely doable with the gunship or the sniper's nest or the attack helicopter or any other streak in the game. So if they wanted to balance the Thresher, they could do one of two things. They could chop its duration way the fuck down. Or they could actually make it so rockets can hit it. In other words, they can make it destroyable. But barring those things, the Thresher is just way too strong, especially in relationship to every other streak in the game, including streaks that cost more than it. So next up is the DLC weapons. This isn't all bad, because a lot of the DLC weapons are actually really cool and really good and relatively well balanced. But a lot of the DLC weapons were straight up fucking pay to win. So when the game originally came out and they started releasing DLC weapons, they had them in the contraband stream. So for example, the Tiger Shark comes out, it's level 50 in the contraband stream. So once you get to level 50 in the contraband stream, you unlock the Tiger Shark. So you could either buy all of those tiers immediately day one and you have the Tiger Shark day one. You could buy some of the tiers and then you have to play less often to get the Tiger Shark. Or you could just play the game without spending a dime, and if you play enough, you get to level 50 within a respectable, reasonable amount of time that contraband stream is available, and you unlock the Tiger Shark. Everyone was happy with that system. It worked well. I'm sure it also got Activision money for a lot of the people, like myself, who were impatient and just wanted the weapon right away. Boom, I'll buy 50 tiers, I don't give a fuck. So everyone's happy with the system, and you're still getting money. But what they started doing was they started releasing DLC weapons, not having them in the contraband stream at all, and only having them be in the reserve cases. So you would have to just get lucky with a reserve case, open it, and hope that the new DLC weapon that you want is in there. So obviously the goal of this system was to encourage people to spend a bunch of money on cases in this complete slot machine structure that they built until the consumer got the DLC weapon that they wanted. Now that in and of itself is bad enough, but in addition, a lot of these weapons that were released when they switched over to this casino system were really fucking good and completely overpowered. So one of them, for example, was the Vendetta. Now the Vendetta, when it originally came out, it was locked in reserve cases, so you had to just hope you got lucky, and it was a one-shot kill headshot. If you thought the Mozu Skull Splitter was bad, the Vendetta was far worse because it did the same thing, but it had a faster fire rate, a way bigger magazine. It was completely fucking broken, and not everyone had it. So to their credit, they patched the Vendetta relatively quickly, and now it's no longer a one-shot kill headshot. But it's still unfortunately locked behind this paywall. And then another one, the worst example, is the Javelina. Javelina also locked behind the paywall. It is literally a semi-automatic paladin. It's a sniper rifle. It has access to high caliber 2, which means it's a one-shot kill to like the stomach up, but it's also semi-automatic. So the refire rate is completely absurd when you look at the damage profile of the gun. Like, the reason the Paladin is somewhat balanced is because it is a bolt action with a really slow refire rate. So you have an insane damage profile and a very generous one-hit kill zone with the Paladin. But if you miss a shot, it's going to take you a while until you can shoot again. With the Javelina, it's literally semi-automatic. You just go blat, 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 blat. It's so broken and it's so anti-fun to play against. Again, with how high the health is in Black Ops 4, these one-shot kill weapons are bad enough, but when they're semi-automatic like the Javelina, it just baffles me that this weapon is still in the game. It's so fucking broken, and not everyone can even earn it through the contraband stream, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because on the one hand, everyone would be using a Javelina, but on the other hand, if you're playing against a Javelina and you don't have it yourself, you can't just switch to yours and make them sorry. You have no recourse, you're just fucked. And then there are less egregious examples too of really good DLC weapons. I'm not sure which of these were locked behind reserve cases or not, but Switchblade's really good, Damon's really good, and that's probably about it. I mean, the Peacekeeper's good, but it's not game breaking. SWAT, same thing. So a lot of the DLC weapons were just good and well balanced. I think everything I just mentioned falls into that category. But the loot box system in general is fucking, it's so greedy and gross and slimy for a company to do this, especially when the contraband stream system that they had before still probably earned them plenty of money. So it's just like, you charge $60 for a game and a bunch of people buy it, and then you release DLC weapons weapons in a contraband stream, where people have fair, reasonable ways to get the weapons without spending any more money. But in addition, you're certainly getting a bunch of extra money from people who already paid full price for your game. But that wasn't greedy enough. They had to lock them exclusively behind reserve cases to really just extract every fucking penny they could out of their consumers who, once again, already spent $60 for the game. Oh, and the VMP too. The VMP is one of the 3 latest DLC weapons released into Black Ops 4. Again, all exclusively locked behind reserve cases. And the VMP is really, really insanely strong. You could make a very strong argument that it's the best SMG in the entire goddamn game. And again, you have to just get lucky and hope that you get it. And that's to say nothing about the less effective but very cheesy, bullshit, dumb DLC weapons that they released. The ballistic knife, I get it has a place in the Call of Duty pantheon, but again, ballistic knife is a lot more balanced in a game with 100 health than in Black Ops 4, where the time to kill is so much higher. And they also released the Rampage, which is so fucking funny to me because the description of it reads something like ADS stalking shotgun. They specifically mention aiming down the sights. Guess what no one ever fucking does with a Rampage? Aim down the sights. There's no reason to. It has like 10 attachments that no one fucking uses or should use. It has like quick draw, it has grip, it has stock 2, all just complete wastes of attachments. It has a red dot sight. There's no reason to ADS with a Rampage. There's only 2 attachments that do anything. Literally that do anything, because all the other ones are related to ADSing, which you should never do with a Rampage because the spread is massive. So there's only 2 attachments you should ever use: hybrid mags and max load, which makes it even stronger. Fully automatic shotgun with this huge insane spread. I wish I still had the clip. When the Rampage had first come out, I got a triple kill without aiming in a different spot. It was on Arsenal. I turned left. There's 3 people there. I hold my left click and they were so close to each other that each individual shot that came out of the Rampage did damage to all 3 of them. They all died at the same time because I was literally doing fucking AoE damage. Like I just cast like Starfall as like a boomkin in fucking World of Warcraft. Just full AoE spread. That's how wide the spread is on the Rampage. So that's one example, but even if it's just one person, there's no fucking reason to ADS. Why would you release a shotgun like this? And how could they not anticipate that with a fully automatic shotgun, with that wide of a spread, that anyone would ADS? So the DLC weapons, some of them were cool, some of them were a fucking disaster, and sadly, the best ones are all locked behind reserve cases. So shell out the bucks or get shit on, idiot. Next up, specialists. In my opinion, in a first-person shooter, specialists just shouldn't exist at all because a lot of them just have these abilities that are completely unrelated to playing a first-person shooter. No aim required, no positioning required. You press a button and it does something. Prophet's Seeker Mine is a perfect example. You press the button, you throw down some piece of equipment that will automatically find someone and then shock them for an exorbitant amount of time, by the way. That shock lasts way too long. Firebreaks Radiate is another example. You just press a button and you do damage to people through walls. Nomad's Dog is another example. There are plenty more, but the point is, when I'm playing a first-person shooter, I don't want these types of mechanics in the game. And it's incredibly frustrating to be doing super well and then die to Nomad's Dog, to some AI PvE encounter. My suspicion is, and I've heard this from somewhere else and I agree with it, is that when this game was being developed, or perhaps when specialists were originally introduced and being developed, everyone was on like the Overwatch hype train, and Activision wanted to co-opt that enthusiasm for that type of game and try to marry it with Call of Duty. But the thing is, Call of Duty isn't fucking Overwatch. So all of these specialist mechanics and like ultimate abilities and shit, they just don't fit in this type of game. And further, I think another part of the motivation for adding specialists was the developers wanted to give people who aren't very good at the game a chance to have really cool plays where they kill a bunch of people. So they said, okay, well, we'll just give everyone specialists and insanely overpowered ultimate abilities so that no matter how bad you are, at least once a game, you'll have access to this really overpowered specialist ability that is often not reliant on aim or first-person shooter mechanics at all, and you can get a bunch of kills so that you feel like you're good for 10 seconds, so you're incentivized to just queue for one more match, and if we can get you to do that enough, maybe you'll buy some reserve cases so we can extract even more money out of you. But the problem with that theory is that the good players also have access to these specialist weapons. So these bad players that you wanted to give a chance to make really good plays are going to be getting shit on so hard by the good players who maximize the efficaciousness of these specialist weapons that it's going to be just a huge rate fest. And by the time the shitter gets their specialist weapon, the good player has already gotten his twice and has also called in his Thresher and all of his other streaks, to where once you do get your specialist weapon as the shitter, you're going to have to navigate other players with their specialist weapons also trying to kill you, in addition to the Thresher carpet bombing you, the Mantis walking into your building, and all of this other shit going on. So the original intention of allowing the shitter to have these awesome plays isn't even being met. And from anyone's perspective, it's incredibly disheartening and annoying and anti-fun to die to a specialist and you just had no chance of counterplaying it. Let's say you've never gotten a nuke before and you're doing really well and you're using your mouse to point your reticle on enemy players and then depressing the left mouse button to fire your weapon at them to do damage and kill them. And you're doing that in an iterative fashion, consistently and reliably and effectively, and killing a bunch of players as a result. And you have 27 kills. And then all of a sudden you hear, and you, bam, you die to a cross-map war machine that you had no fucking chance of counterplaying. That is so frustrating. And it's compounded by the fact that the battery's war machine that you just died to, that guy is 2 and 20, and he didn't earn that war machine. He just got it by virtue of the fact that eventually everyone gets their ultimate. Everyone eventually just gets this super overpowered mechanic to kill you with. So this dovetails into one recommendation I would have for specialists. If you really are insistent on having them be in the game, the equipment should be a part of the Pick 10 Create a Class system. So instead of getting a free piece of equipment based on which specialist you choose, they should have it instead be just like frag grenade, concussion grenade, trophy system, where you have to choose it in your class and it costs a create a class point. So you can add Seeker Mine to this equipment slot in the create a class, or you can add Radiate, etc. And with respect to the ultimate abilities, these should be kill streaks and you should have to earn them. You shouldn't just automatically get them on a timer, as is the case right now. And Call of Duty's already done this. In World War II, there is a kill streak, which is a flamethrower, which is exactly the same as Firebreak's incinerator. The difference is in World War II, you have to get a number of kills in a row without dying, and then you've earned your flamethrower. And then you call it in, and you have this really overpowered weapon. When you die to the flamethrower in World War II, it's annoying, and there isn't much you could have done to outplay that. But at the same time, you know that that guy earned that flamethrower, and you know that the only reason he has that is because you allowed him to get a kill streak and you didn't kill him off of it, and then he got a flamethrower. So there is an element of counterplay there. If you don't want to die to a flamethrower in World War II, don't let some guy kill you a bunch of times in a row so that he doesn't earn the flamethrower. If Black Ops 4 implemented this system with all of their ultimate weapons, the game would be far better and far more balanced. When you die to a war machine, you think, well, at least that guy had to earn that war machine. I should have killed him before he got 800 points or whatever. And in the same vein, one of the biggest problems with specialists is that they not only reward you with full score, but they give you bonus score, which is fucking crazy. So in Black Ops 4, you earn score streaks, not kill streaks. And if you call in a Mantis and the Mantis gets a kill, you get 10 points. If you get a regular gun kill, you get 100 points. So you get far fewer points when your score streak gets a kill rather than you getting the kill yourself. And the reason for this is because it is far easier to get a kill with a score streak than it is to get a kill yourself. That logic makes sense, and I agree with it. However, they completely abandoned this logic when it comes to specialist kills. Again, I think they added this because they thought when the shitter eventually gets his ultimate that he didn't have to earn, he might get 3 kills with it, and that'll allow him to call in his first ever Hellstorm missile. But because it's so easy to get kills with your specialist weapon, you shouldn't get the same amount of points that you do for getting a regular kill. And you fucking certainly shouldn't get even more points. It is easier to get a kill with a specialist weapon, and you're also rewarded more for getting that kill. What? Why? That's one of the big reasons that equipment charge is so fucking broken in this game. So equipment charge is a piece of gear that you can equip so that you get your specialist equipment and specialist weapon more quickly. So if the default charge time for Reaper's Scythe is 5 minutes and you're using equipment charge, it's now 3 minutes. And if you're earning score throughout the game, that 3-minute timer gets cut. So you get a kill, you go from 2 minutes and 59 seconds to 2 minutes and 49 seconds. So if you're using equipment charge and you're a good player, you get your ultimate very fast. And you also get your radar shroud, for the Reaper example, much more quickly as well. And the problem with equipment charge, you're now essentially doubling the amount of time that you get these insanely overpowered weapons that give you far more score than you would have gotten otherwise for you to just boom. Oh, I got Reaper Scythe. Easy Thresher, easy gunship. Like every scythe I get full streaks from it because it's so overpowered, it's so strong, no one I see stands a goddamn chance of outplaying me. So I'm gonna get more kills than I would have otherwise gotten anyway. But in addition, because I'm getting bonus score on top of those more kills than I would have otherwise gotten, it's such easy streaks. So specialists are just fucking terrible for the game for a litany of reasons. So now I want to show you a clip to kind of end this portion of the video. This is me playing Firebreak on Nuketown Hardpoint. What I do in this clip is I press literally one button on my keyboard. I don't have to aim at anyone. I don't have to shoot at anyone. I don't have to move my character fucking at all. I press one button. A button I didn't have to earn access to, by the way. So not only did I not have to earn access to this ability I'm about to show you, I also didn't have to have any skill to use this ability. And at the end of using this ability, again, pressing one button and not even having to move my character at all, I press one button, I get 1,370 points. That is a full set of streaks. If I had 0 score, I press this one button and I have access to every single score streak in the game except for gunship. If I had been using ComSec, I would have gotten access to the strongest possible score streak in the game by pressing one button that requires no skill, and I didn't have to earn it. Take a look. Look at this, dude. Look at these kills. That's so ridiculous, dude. And at long last, my children, we have reached the single worst thing about Call of Duty Black Ops 4. If you watch my stream, which can be found at twitch.tv/Razanon, by the way, you may know what I'm about to say. And that is this. The biggest problem with Black Ops 4 is that assists count as full credit toward a kill. I can do 1% of damage to you, and someone else can kill you, and I get as much credit as the guy who did 99% of the damage. I could do less than 1% of the damage to you. You can have tac boost body armor and full health, and I can throw a concussion grenade at you so it hits you and it does 1 point of damage to you, and then someone else can do the rest of the damage, and I get full credit for that kill. It's the single biggest problem with this game, because what that does is it incentivizes players who really want to win or really want to get those thick streaks to just play way fucking backline, pepper everyone, and hope that half the people that they're able to spray and touch once are killed by their more valiant teammates, and then all of a sudden they've been completely ineffectual. They haven't been doing anything skillful, impactful, or helpful to their team, yet they earn a full set of streaks. Look, I don't think score streaks in and of themselves are a bad thing as opposed to kill streaks. I actually like score streaks better than kill streaks because it incentivizes players in objective modes to capture points, to destroy score streaks, to destroy barricades. That's cool. I like that. But if you're gonna have score streaks, you can't also give full credit for an assist, especially an assist where you didn't do the majority of the damage. In the vast majority of other Call of Duties, if you got an assist, you got an amount of score based on how much damage you did to that person. World War II, again, had this system completely fucking perfect. They had score streaks, not kill streaks, but you got an amount of score for an assist based on how much damage you did. So if you did 0 to 24%, you got no points for an assist. Maybe you got very little, like 10, but I don't think you got any. If you did 25 to 49%, you got 25 points for an assist. If you did 50% or more, etc., you got 50 points, whatever. That system worked perfectly because if you were ineffectual, but you did happen to do some damage before someone died, you didn't get rewarded for that. However, if you did a bunch of damage, but you weren't able to cinch the kill and someone else was able to kill him, you got credit, you got points, but you didn't get full points. This is also what makes, like, a Cordite FMJ2, for example. That's a popular gun with really good players. And the main reason for that is not so you can wallbang people. That is a misnomer. The reason FMJ2 is so good is because it allows you to just wantonly spray into an area and you'll get a couple tags. And then someone else will kill that person and you get full points. So if I'm playing Nuketown with an FMJ2, I can just start spraying at the train. I might do 10% of damage to some guy, or 3 guys, 10% of damage to each of them. And if they die eventually, I get points for 3 kills there. I wasn't impactful, I didn't secure the kills, I wouldn't have gotten the kills if my teammate hadn't saved the day. Oftentimes, the people that I damaged and then got full credit for would have died anyway, even if I hadn't done any damage to them, but I still get full credit. That's the reason FMJ2 is as good as it is, because it allows you to farm streaks without necessarily having to be super effective. The gun itself is also good, and you can also be super effective with it. I'm not saying players that use FMJ2 on a Cordite are bad, or that they all do this, but I'm saying in addition to being a very effective weapon, you can also very easily farm assists that count as full points, and by virtue of that, you can farm kill streaks and then win the game because you're able to farm so many kill streaks. This is also the problem with facing parties or groups of players. Most of the time, you face a group of 3 players. Let's say they're not even that good, but they're in Discord, and you're queued solo, whatever. So you turn a corner, one of them sees you. They tell their friends, hey, there's a guy that just came around this corner. Shoot at him. All 3 of them converge on you and shoot you. That isn't Black Ops 4's fault. That is one of the inherent difficulties of facing groups of players, and that's fine. What is Black Ops 4's fault is that all 3 of those players just got 100 points for killing you. So you have these games when you face parties where they will do this and communicate effectively and team shoot people. If they do that 3 times, they all have UAV. So they all call their UAV. This makes it much easier to team shoot people. Now you're getting pre-fired on every corner by 3 people. Next guy turns the corner. They all know he's coming because he's been on the UAV. All 3 of them shoot that guy. Another 100 points. That happens 2 more times. Now one guy has a sniper's nest, one guy has a mantis, and one guy has a hellstorm. So even if you haven't been feeding this group of 3 players, you're now going to die to one of those 3 streaks that they just called, and then they're going to snowball this into a massive victory. No matter what, a group of 3 players is going to have an advantage, that communication advantage, in being able to win a game. But that's enough of an advantage. They don't also need to all get fucking full credit for every kill they get. If all the circumstances were the same, and we were playing World War II, when that guy turned the corner, one of those 3 players would have gotten 100 points, a second one would have gotten between 25 and 50 for an assist, and the third wouldn't have been able to have done enough damage to get him any assist points. So again, if we're running back the exact same scenario, once they've team shot 3 people, they're not going to have 3 UAVs. They're going to have 1. And then this snowball effect that I had been talking about won't happen. It won't get out of hand. I mean, think of how stupid this is. Let's say you run into 6 players and all 6 of them do some amount of damage to you before you die. Your death just became worth 600 points. It's so fucking stupid that they allowed this in the game. And it makes earning score streaks just so easy. And you can abuse that mechanic, especially again when you're in a group with your friends, to just completely fucking snowball a game within 30 seconds. The assist counting as full points is by far the most game-breaking bullshit mechanic that is in Black Ops 4. And when you pair that with the existence of Thresher and how strong all the score streaks are in this game, and when you pair that with ComSec device and javelinas and equipment charges, it's just so wildly out of hand. And if you're a good player who also chooses to abuse these mechanics, so I'm going to play as Crash for easy score at no risk to myself. I'm going to use a Cordite FMJ2 so that I can wallbang people, do almost no damage, but then get full points. I'm going to get bonus points because of my assault packs for not only my kills, but for everyone else on my team who picks up that assault pack. And then since I'm using ComSec device, I'm going to get a sniper's nest for doing almost nothing. And now I have my sniper's nest, I can actually go out into the map and just roll everyone and snowball these streaks until the game ends. There are a lot of problems with the game, and there are a lot of problems that make that type of player possible, but the assists counting as full points toward that kill is by far the biggest offender. And again, I think this is one of those mechanics that is rooted in a facile, poorly thought out attempt to allow shit players a chance to get high score streak rewards and big plays, because it does the exact opposite. It makes it super easy for really good players to get those score streaks, and they're going to use those score streaks to farm those shit players so fucking hard that they are never going to have an opportunity to abuse the assist system like the good players will. So the developers not only failed in accomplishing their goal to level the playing field, they've also just made the game far worse for every player, the good players and the shitters. Thank you very much for watching, Young Kings. I appreciate it. A lot of people were looking forward to this Part 3 review, and I'm very pleased to finally be able to release it to you. If you hated this video, smash that dislike button. If you enjoyed it, consider pressing the thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. Comment and let me know what you think, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether I persuaded you on some point. And if you want more Call of Duty multiplayer focused videos in your YouTube feed in the future, consider subscribing. That is the only focus of this channel, and I love making these videos, and I will continue to do it indefinitely. In addition, I stream on Twitch every goddamn day at twitch.tv/Razanon. That is the same name as my YouTube channel. I'm dummy interactive with my chat, so if you're able to catch me live, want to chat with me, you will for sure get a response from me. My interactivity is boundless. I love to do it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm hoping and praying that I see you in my next live stream on Twitch. Have a fantastic day. And as always, Young Kings, stay humble. Oops.